Nourish weekly webinar. I am Abhishek Sinha. I head the business development over here at Nourish. And welcome to this webinar on Facebook. My job is to interact with content creators and publishers and bring them to Nourish and create successful academies. And we generally get a lot of queries in terms of how do they scale up their ads, how do they generate leads. Today we have we have with us Jaskaran, who's our growth lead. He's leading our growth initiatives and is also a regular to our webinars. And Jaskaran would basically be sharing expert tips in terms of how to run Facebook ad campaigns, how to set up Facebook campaigns. So basically, he will give us a step-by-step blow down account in terms of how to run Facebook ad campaigns. So welcome, Jaskaran. Welcome to the show.
Thanks a lot, Abhishek. Really looking forward to this session. I think it's going to be
Yeah,
an interesting one for all our, viewers and also, academy people who have academies, built academies on Nourish, or people who are actually exploring the idea to, build their learning academies of Nourish. I think this will be an insightful webinar for them.
absolutely, Jessica. And really looking forward to learn a lot in terms of how the intricacies of Facebook ad campaigns. So before we start, one of the basic questions that we come across is, most of the content creators or publishers have limited budget, right? And they would want to know, where do they start? Do they start on Google? Do they start on Facebook? Do they even start on WhatsApp these days, right? So take us through the decision in terms of why one should start on Facebook, or is starting on Facebook even a question?
Hmm, hmm, hmm. So definitely, I think yes. For a lot of businesses who are actually absolutely new to in terms of setting up their audiences, who don't have a large comprehensive list of customers who've already purchased their services in the past, etc., and they're actually going to start finding customers for their service or their business. Facebook is definitely one of the tools that can kind of help them build that initial base. I think, yes, to begin with, anyone who's actually starting with performance marketing for their business or to sell their services or products, I think Facebook can be used as a first effective channel to start their campaigns. It's not the only channel that is available out there, but it's not only like it's as a part of your overall marketing or growth strategy. You can plug in multiple channels where each and every channel will have their own relevance, will have the newer audiences for you to kind of reach out to. And Facebook definitely today holds a huge chunk of the audience. And for anyone who's actually trying to sell consumer services through the internet, Facebook definitely gives you that initial push. And then Google has its own strengths, which coupled with Facebook can give you a robust and a comprehensive growth or a marketing strategy.
Great. So, I mean, Justin, what are the advantages of being on Facebook in terms of running campaigns? Now, you've handled, campaigns for billion-dollar enterprises. You've also handled it for startups, and you do realize that content creators or academies who are just starting out, they have very limited playing field, so to speak, right? So they don't have much bandwidth to experiment. So, what are the benefits that Facebook offers when one is just starting out on the platform?
So I think the first myth that I want to kind of bust is that we need a huge budget to start our campaigns, or we need a lot of marketing budget to have build a successful growth or digital marketing campaign. That's absolutely not true. The benefit that we have in today's age, especially when it comes to performance marketing, is that we can analyze our spend at every given step, at every given instance, to see whether our strategy is working or not. And in that process, it gives us a lot of control in terms of the amount of money that we are actually spending on our ads, right? So it's more instantaneous in terms of we can kind of break up our decision making into different instances over a certain period of time to see what strategy is working for us and what's not working for us. That really helps us limit the amount of burn that we could have on advertising that is, or an advertising strategy that is actually not effective for our business, and help us to kind of make fixes early on. I think as it can go as low as something around, let's say, 500 to 1,000 rupees per day. We could actually start with that, start exploring the platform with that, create a few ad sets, add a few creatives, do a few experiments, see what audience types are working for us, and then wherever we feel we have a certain hold in terms of understanding where our customer is sitting, then we can actually start scaling our campaigns up. So control is one of the major benefits that any performance marketing channel, including Facebook, would also offer you. I think one of the advantages that Facebook particularly has is that Facebook newsfeed advertising is one of the primary real estate that Facebook offers, whether it's Facebook mobile feed or desktop or even Instagram feeds. And you got to understand the persona of the user when he's on a certain platform. So, for example, when someone is every day, millions, rather billions of people go onto Facebook to check out their news feeds and or to check out their Instagram feeds. Now, there's a certain persona and a certain mindset that you are in while you're actually consuming content on Facebook, right? So your buying behavior might differ there as compared to, let's say, a regular display banner ad that you might see on a website, etc. I'd say the overall selling experience on Facebook is quite immersive because it is very well blended in your overall social media consumption experience, which actually leads to creating a good top of mind and also to some great results for your business. So that's one of the major advantages that Facebook has. And then of course it has an entire universe of advertising solutions and products in terms of real estate, in terms of where all you can place the ads across the Facebook's ad spectrum. So it's actually quite powerful. The reach is immense, and also it leads to some really effective results, especially for people who are starting their businesses from scratch and who don't have an audience. For a lot of people, it's also important to understand that it's also discovering their audience is also a very critical part of setting up their marketing strategy. So you tend to kind of do multiple experiments in terms of really kind of zeroing down on your niche. We all, as marketers or product marketers, we all start with a hypothesis that this is the service and this is the product that we are selling, and this is the audience we intend to sell it to. However, sometimes what happens is that a platform like Facebook or any other platform, particularly since we're just talking about Facebook, I'll stick to
Yeah,
that.
sure.
Could actually surprise you in terms of what are the other audience segments that could also be interested in your product or your service. So it really opens your strategy up beyond your initial hypothesis, which then becomes quite effective and powerful. So that said, I think Facebook is a good start for anyone to begin their ads, start running their ads on.
No, absolutely. I think that's a great perspective, Jess. And I guess Facebook is also a lot simpler to start with, right? I mean, if you look at the other, campaigns or other platforms, so Facebook is also simple to start with. But how does one start? So if I am an academy who has just started selling their courses, and I want to kind of like look at conversions from Facebook, how easy it is to set it up? Do I need a marketing agency for it, or can I do it on my own? If you could just take us through the steps.
Well, there are a number of marketing agencies which are actually, in the business of running Facebook campaigns for different clients, etc. But to be honest, I think if you're running an internet business, and if you are really kind of looking to find the right audience for your business or your product, you could completely start this by your own. It will definitely take a certain amount of effort for you to really understand the flow of how performance marketing runs. At the same time, you don't have to be overwhelmed with the fact that you have to spend huge budgets. You can start off with extremely limited budgets, as I mentioned before. So there's plus platforms like Facebook business have immense amount of documentation available online. If you go to YouTube today, you can find tons and tons of mini courses in terms of how to start Facebook ads or Facebook ads for beginners, which actually help you get an understanding also. That's also one of the purpose and the reason for this webinar is to kind of help users understand that let's get this out of our minds that Facebook advertising can only be done by professionals or experts. All you need to do is you need to spend certain amount of time in terms of understanding how advertising on Facebook works. And of course, the art of optimization is what any performance marketing channel would expect. If you're expecting your business to do well, you really need to kind of understand how to optimize your campaigns over a period of time. And the fundamentals across any channel, whether it's Facebook or let's say Google, the fundamentals would remain the same in terms of how your entire advertising funnel works. Is pretty much similar. However, there'd be some different terminologies which are used in Facebook as compared to, let's say, Google AdWords and other platforms. Quora has come up with a Quora business solution, which is also offering opportunities to run campaigns and ad campaigns, which I think could also be quite interesting. So I'm exploring that these days as well. We could do a webinar on that one of these days. So. Yeah, I mean, I'd say it depends on how much time you have to invest in advertising. If you have the budgets to invest in an agency, you can definitely start off with an agency. Otherwise, if you are passionate about advertising and if you have the time and the bandwidth, you can definitely start it off on your own. It's a combination of certain creative skill sets along with along with certain analytical skill sets which blend together to help you achieve results that you want to achieve for your advertising and for your product.
Right. No, absolutely, Jessica. And I think it's important to start, right? So as you rightly said, there are multiple platforms available, and it's important to kind of like start from Facebook, and given the simplicities and the advantages of Facebook, so one should ideally start from Facebook. So what are the steps, Jessica? And like, so if firstly, I have identified my budget, right?
Hmm.
And then coming to the nitty-gritties in terms of setting up my Facebook ad account or Facebook business manager. So what are the nitty-gritties that one should keep in mind, or if you could just take us through the steps?
Okay, fair enough. So I think I'll share my screen and just give a general walkthrough in terms of what are the steps that we usually take. So, for example, let me just go to Facebook Business Manager. Okay. So this is my Facebook Business Manager, page. This is what it looks like. Within my Business Manager, I have multiple ad accounts. So since I run ad accounts for a couple of academies, for Nourish as well, for Nourish Academy. These are all the ad accounts that I can set inside my business manager account. So a business manager account, I think, can host multiple. I don't know the exact number of ad accounts that you can have, but you can have plenty of them. So the idea of having different ad accounts is that each ad account will have a base pixel which will be associated with it, right? Which will help you to optimize your campaigns over a period of time, and I'll come share more details about how that works. So once you create an ad account, for example, we create an ad account here. Let me just help you through what are the basic business settings we have here. So the format, the layout, and the user experience keeps on changing. So I'm I might be a little surprised if I spot a few new things because these platforms are, evolving on a daily basis almost in terms of experience. So your basic business information is where what you can see here. Your legal business name, address, etc. So these days, Facebook likes to verify the businesses that are actually running ads in order to prevent any kind of frauds happening online. So they like to keep their businesses verified. So this is all your business information that comes into this, and you'd be able to kind of fill this up easily. Once you start setting up your business account, and going back. One second. So we are back on the ad accounts page. So this, let's say, is one of the ad accounts, right? This is one of the ad accounts that we are running. We'll come, dive more into how this ad account is structured and what is the setup that we are actually using to make this. Basically, these are all your campaigns. This is how it's set up, and each campaign has ad sets in the middle. But just kind of, just stepping out a bit, I want to show the users what are pixels and how to kind of set them up. So if you go to, so 1 second, I forgot to mark that step. Okay, so I'm here, okay, on my primary business manager page. I go to events manager. Now, the what we have to understand here is that the idea of a Facebook pixel is for you to create events. Whenever we have any user coming onto your academy or to your website, there are multiple events that user will fire. For example, the user lands on the home page. Okay, the user views a certain course description page. The user adds an item to a cart. The user checks out or drops off the cart. The user makes a purchase. The user starts a trial. So these are different events that you would like to mark. And you'd like to tell Facebook, okay, whenever something like this happens, you have to fire this event, so that how many events are occurring, and these events also help you to kind of optimize your campaigns in as you move along. And I'll explain that once we come to that. Just going to events manager for now, just to see where we are right now. Okay, so this is where we are, right? So as you see, this is an academy. Once you create once you create a new ad account for your academy, that ad account will have a pixel associated to it. What you have to do is you have to take that pixel and place it on your academy. How you do that is by simply putting it in a Google Tag Manager, which for which documentation we've already shared with a lot of our clients as well, in terms of how to place any pixel on your website without having the need to go to your developers. Basically, what you can do is you can just take that pixel, put it in a Google Tag Manager account, and it will be placed across your site. Once that happens, these are the standard events that we have for all our tenants or our people who are actually creating academies on Nourish. So there's a page view event, there's a view content event, there's add to cart, initiate checkout, purchase, or add to wish list. These are some standard events that we can create. We will already have once the pixel is placed. So as soon as that pixel is placed, it's a 5-minute job to place that pixel. All of these events will automatically start firing because our platform service is configured in such a way that these events Facebook pixel will pick up predefined, and it will start firing these events for you. These are all the basic events that you need, right? And then there are custom events. For example, an academy has multiple courses, right? You don't have just one course. You have 5-6 different kinds of courses which are have different prices. What do you do for that? If the purchase pixel is a single pixel, so purchase will be purchased for any kind of course. What if you want to mark purchase for course A, course B, course C? That's where you have the option to create custom pixels. How do you create them? You simply go to custom pixels and you start creating a custom pixel. You name the pixel. You can give a description. This is for your internal reference. You choose the ad account. For example, we've chosen this ad account, one of our celebrity academies. Then you choose a conversion event. What kind of a pixel you want it to be? So let's say we say purchase, right? Then based on once you have this, once you set this, then you have to set a rule. When do you want Facebook to fire this event? Now what we do is we can simply go to event parameters, okay, and then there are content IDs which we need to place. How do we place content IDs? Let me just show you 1 second. uh, okay, once. Okay, so let's see if the Pro Academy. I think it's placed on. Anyway, so I think it's my widget is placed on Google Chrome, so that might take a little more time to actually open up. But I have a documentation which is open up right in front of me. As I showed you, we create custom pixels. We go down. Just a second. Abhishek, can you see my screen? Hello?
Yeah, I can.
You can, right? Yeah. I just thought I had lost you for a minute. Okay, so once you are at the, as I was, this is what I was actually showing you. I'm just showing you now through this documentation. This is where we were, and we'll quickly move on to the next step. So we create a custom pixel. Sorry, 1 second here, right? Now, once we select, let's say, the purchase event, then I'll quickly jump onto this documentation for more clarity. Event parameters. Now, once you go on to fill in the event parameters, what you'll do is you'll simply go on to the you can use Google Chrome for this, and you can have a Facebook pixel widget right here which shows you the details of the pixel, and it's an extension that you can get on Chrome any easily. So once you've selected the course and where you're at the course and you click on this widget, you'll see the content ID right here. You have to copy this and just place this content ID on this field right here, right? So now Facebook will, and you can call this conversion, let's say course a purchase. So now and you can create this pixel. Now Facebook will start firing events for this particular course's purchase also, and not just for a generic course. So we're also in the process of creating a comprehensive documentation in terms of how to set up pixels. It's a very procedural thing, I'd say. It's not something that is something that is extremely complicated or technical. It's extremely basic in terms of how it's set up. And once you kind of get all of these basic setups right, the area which you really need to focus on and quickly jump onto is how to kind of start running your ads once your entire setup is done. So I think setting up shouldn't be a big challenge. However, we are also creating ample documentation in terms of how to go about the basics, starting from setting up your business manager account to adding a ad account within that, how to create that, take that ad account pixel, put it on your website through a Google Tag Manager, and then how to create custom events as I just showed you. So it's a simple, straightforward process in terms of setting it up. If there are, I think most of the documentation that we will have at Nourish will be able to kind of address any concerns or issues.
Absolutely. I think no, this was really helpful, Jess. I mean, thanks for taking us through the steps. And I think the best part, as you mentioned, Nourish is already pre-configured with these campaigns, in the sense these integrations.
These
So
events,
we
yeah.
have Facebook Pixel integration, we have Google Tag Manager. So Nourish is already
Exactly.
pre-configured.
So
All
Nourish,
one needs to do is sorry.
sorry, just to interrupt here. So Nourish offers everything that content creator needs in today's age to set up the technology that they need to kind of start running their advertising or their marketing. They don't need to kind of go to a developer to kind of set up anything of that sort. All the integrations are available, and we are leveraging of the best internet technologies today to ensure that the entire setup is done in absolutely seamless and user friendly kind of an environment and a manner.
Absolutely. So, after having set the Facebook Business Manager, right, then what are the next steps? So, how do I kind of like go about designing my campaign? Because that will drive the entire thing in terms of, the budget, the demographics that I need to choose. So how do I go about designing that, and how do I ensure that I'm reaching out to the right demographics, that my ad dollars are not wasted on reaching out to people who are not qualified for my product. So how does one ensure that?
Well, we got to start from the product itself. So, what is it that we are actually selling, right? So, our academy, what kind of products does it have? What domain do they fall on? For any marketer, it's extremely important to have a hypothesis in terms of who they think their user is. And I'm sure a lot of people who are actually making content or creating academies on Nourish, etc., are focusing on that. Everyone has a focus on, okay, this is what I can do, and this is who I think is the person who will be willing to buy this. So that hypothesis has to be there, a strong one, and then it all stems from your experience on the academy itself. How is the academy structured aesthetically? What does the landing page look like? What is the landing page experience like? What is the communication on the landing page? What is the copy? What are we trying to communicate through the landing page? What is the look and feel? That should resonate with your ads. So I wouldn't obviously I wouldn't say you start creating ads first and then create an academy. I'm sure everyone who's watching this will have an academy, and then they'll start thinking of creating ads. So it all has to stem from your product experience or your landing page experience as well. So that's what you do when it comes to creating an ad experience per se. Now, there are multiple formats that Facebook offers you in terms of running your ads. You can run image-based ads, you can run carousels, you can run video ads. But what I suggest is that your overall personality, the experience or the look and feel of the ad should resonate with your landing page. That is very important. Why it's also important is that there's a very important concept called ad relevance that most of the performance marketing channels like Facebook or even Google AdWords for that matter would lay heavy emphasis on. What that does is that it ensures that people who are actually clicking on an ad, when they land on the landing page which is leading to the ad, it has a certain experience which is similar to the ad, and so that the user actually gets into a certain is pulled into a certain experience rather. So, for example, if your ad is look and feel, tonality, and messaging is completely different from what your landing page is saying, the user is not likely to get pulled into that experiential buying persona. So he's more likely to drop out. So the more people drop out within, let's say, few seconds or microseconds of landing on your product page or your landing page, the less ad relevance your ads will have, and the harder it will be for you to kind of push those ads. You'll have to spend more money on them. So ad relevance comes from your landing page or your product experience. So that's the most important thing. I think you should spend most of your time understanding how the design of your landing page is. That's also a very important aspect for selling in terms of how your landing page experience is, because you understand this. Now, this is your website or your academy, which has a landing page or a course page or a sales page. And then these are where your ads are running, right? So let's say, for the sake of this, webinar, it's a whole spectrum, right? So person looks at a certain ad on his Facebook newsfeed, clicks on it, lands on your landing page, checks out your product, adds a product to a cart, and checkout. So 50% of this entire conversion or this funnel is in the advertising spectrum on the Facebook side, and the remaining 50% is on your product side, right? So there has to be a perfect blend of experience for the user. Not for a moment should the user actually feel that, this is where have I landed after clicking on this ad, or this is not what I was expecting. You have to, build at every step and not let the opportunity, not give the opportunity to the user to kind of drop out. You have to keep him engaged. So that's how I would start building up my ads. There is no right or wrong, Abhishek, to be honest, in terms of how you want to structure your ad. what kind of communication you want to use. It completely depends on the style and the personality of your product, your thinking as a marketer, your style in terms of how you want to position your product, what kind of personality you want it to have. That's pretty much what your ads will also show. So it's there are a few like do's and don'ts that you definitely have on Facebook ads, and there are standard rules. For example, how much text could you possibly have on an image ad? There's only
That's very critical. Yeah.
only 20% of text that you can possibly have, right? If you're running a traditional Facebook ad. There are, some major brands who don't even use a single letter or an alphabet on their ad. It's just pure image based, and they use leverage on primary copies, headline text, which comes as part of your ad structure. I'll just kind of show to you how that part works. So, that's what the answer to that question would be.
Right. No, great, Jess. I think thanks for simplifying everything. And, these are, of course, multiple, subjects that you touched upon. So, really thanks for simplifying it and crystallizing it for our viewers. So, I think one critical thing that is coming out of our conversation is that there's also a design element to this, right? Because at the end of the day, we are running ads, we are running, it's marketing, right? So,
Hmm.
there's also a design element to it in terms of what kind of image that I'm using to target my demographics. Is does the image resonate with my target persona? So so a lot of times we've seen crappy ads being served to us, and we just think about what the hell is this about. So
Hmm.
it's also about the creatives or the design part. So would you like to throw upon some light on that in terms of how does one also effectively design the ad sets or the
Hmm.
creatives basically?
Hmm. Hmm. So again, I think it depends on marketer to marketer in terms of what approach or what tactic they use in terms of when it comes to ad design, etc. The first thing I want to say is that you don't really need a very strong design muscle or a design team to kind of start helping you to create these assets. As our viewers are aware that Nourish first of all offers you bunch of templates that you can actually use to customize to build your academy experience, right? Similarly, there are a bunch of tools available online which can help you to start creating your Facebook ads, even if you're not a designer. They do a lot of heavy lifting for you in terms of getting your format and everything right. And of course, the final touches in terms of how your ad should look or what message should go about is definitely going to come from you. For example, Canva is one of the tools where you don't need any design skills. You first of all don't need to know how to run Photoshop or etc. And it gives you a certain standard quality of output in terms of the kind of creatives that you can make from that platform, which you can effectively use as a part of your ad campaigns. Secondly, I think go with a bunch of creatives. Don't zero in on one creative or two creatives or three creatives. Try to have five, six different kinds of creatives. Try different kinds of formats. Try images. Try carousels. You can create videos if you don't have the bandwidth to create videos at that point in time. You can even create videos out of images, but effectively videos are also quite definitely very effective when it comes to driving, especially building awareness campaigns. So I'd say if I were in some wanting to kind of set up ad campaign or an ad strategy from scratch, I will have a certain hypothesis in terms of what my ad copies should say, what my designs should look like, and then I would experiment. I would go with multiple variations, because what happens is traditionally in marketing we always say, okay, this is what we want to communicate and this is how it should go out, and this is the real estate it's actually going to capture. uh, Digital marketing or performance marketing per se, gives us a lot of flexibility and strength in terms of really understanding what people want, right? So, and we cannot not undermine that aspect at all. I'd say even if I think I've created a killer ad, okay, which looks beautiful, it's amazing. It might not resonate really well with my user persona or the people that I'm actually trying to target.
Yeah.
See, we have to look at it as an extremely democratic, area, or a democratic way of actually finalizing what kind of ad experience you want to build, because it is built basis the kind of feedback that you are actually receiving from your audience. If you have 5 6 different variations of design with different kinds of messaging or tonality, you can run all of them. You can A/B test them, or you can run multiple, creatives for the same campaign, and see which one is actually giving you the best CTRs. Now, CTR is called click-through rates, right? So, if 100 people view your ad, how many people click on it? So, if 5 out of 100 people click on it, your CTR is 5%. And you would want a higher CTR. A higher CTR is an indication of the fact that your ad creative is getting a good response. In comparison to a lower CTR would mean that the ad creative is not getting a good response. So I'd say go with a very strong hypothesis, try multiple variations, try different formats, and then just let the data decide, help you make certain decisions. And that's when we go from the initial setup stage to the optimization side of the things, where we start optimizing things, whether it's ad creatives, whether it's what ad sets are actually working for us, what campaigns, what audiences are working for us. It all is a part of your entire optimization work that comes into play.
Right. No, great. I think we're really learning a lot in terms of how to set it up on Facebook and look at the key strategies in terms of creating that, setting up the demographics. So I think this is really helpful from those perspectives. Now, I think one of the key things that you just mentioned is also about from the ads, what's the CTA or click to action? Where do you take your audience to? And that's where the landing page comes into the picture. And you had earlier also taken a session on sales funnel, an extensive session on sales funnel.
Correct.
And on Nourish also, we have extensive tools to set up course, landing pages, sales landing pages. So how important it is to have a good landing page? So you've set a beautiful ad on Facebook. Your creatives are great. Everybody loves your creative. Then what next? How does the user comes to the landing page and convert? Because ultimately, the entire activity has to culminate into conversion. It has to lead to higher conversion
Hmm.
and better ROI. So
Hmm.
how important is the landing page, as part of the entire campaign?
Extremely important. I think it's definitely extremely important. So I would not undermine a single aspect of this entire user journey, as which we showcased earlier. That when a person clicks on a certain ad, okay, and lands onto your landing page and then views your products details, goes onto the cart, adds a product, and exits, but makes a purchase. Every step of this journey, you have to look at it as a holistic kind of an experience for the user, right? There shouldn't be any kind of disconnect in terms of the experience that you're actually giving to your user. It has to be a very good blend. So as I mentioned earlier, it's important from a marketing perspective to first think about your landing page, and then to kind of start creating your ads. So first the landing page comes, and then the ads follow the landing page, of course. You can definitely try two different variations of landing pages with completely different approaches, for example, in terms of structure, layout, user experiences, etc. It's very important for you to see how you would like to use your call to actions. Like, for example, if you visit effective landing pages today, you'll see different tactics that they're using. Sometimes the call to action becomes a sticky banner on top, and even if you keep scrolling down, the call to action never leaves the view frame, or it always remains in the frame. Or someone would have an approach where they have multiple call to actions, essentially the same CTA, but structured or pasted multiple times through the journey on your landing page. Some people would like to kind of build some curiosity by providing very limited information, and to kind of build that curiosity, or to kind of inspire users to want to learn more, making them want to learn more about your product or service. On the other hand, someone would have a more comprehensive page approach, where they would have a long landing page. They would want to kind of give every piece of information, every bit of information that the user might want, when he's in the consideration, or just between awareness and the consideration stage, in terms of when he's learning more about your product or understanding more about your product and service, before he makes that decision to purchase it. So different approaches work for different kinds of audiences, different kinds of products or services. It completely depends. There is, I still would say, there's no one success formula. So whenever as a marketer you're in dilemma, the best part about performance marketing is that it offers you the opportunity to A/B test things, right? You can test multiple approaches. You can possibly structure a same campaign and A/B test it to two different kind of landing pages, completely different experiences, and and then see which one is converting more for you. Conversion rates is something that you will use as a metric to kind of optimize, to see what is actually working and what's not working. For courses which are in education, I believe that you would want to offer more information about the product. You would like to educate the user more, build credibility as well, because education, any kind of education, when you're actually, or you're buying a service, you need to kind of build certain credibility, and you got to understand the user pretty well. So for example, in India, if you're not really selling a tangible product and you're selling a service online, credibility is something that you really need to establish upfront. I mean, that's what I believe as a marketer, right? So how do you do that? You do that basis, the kind of information that you can actually share about the products, some acknowledgement, endorsements, testimonials, product features, benefits, value. A lot of stuff that you can actually communicate about your product. There's certain academies, that are hosted on Nourish. Some done some really brilliant work in terms of structuring really good landing pages. And once your landing page strategy is on point, then the other part becomes a little easy for you, because then what you'll possibly just be doing is creating ad experiences to come on top of that landing page. But if our landing page communication is not extremely effective, I mean, whatever strategy we use, whether it's a short landing page or a long one, then our ads might not be able to kind of give us the results that we expect them to. So you've got to understand the ad will just bring the user and hand it over to the landing page. Now, if the landing page is not responsible enough, or it's not effective enough to take care of the user will drop off. So the ads side essentially done its job, but the landing page is not doing it. So that's how important the landing page is.
Absolutely, Jess. And I think viewers who are watching this should definitely check out the session on sales funnel, which Jess had conducted some time back. And I think it was an eye opener in terms of what is a sales funnel, and how does one create beautiful sales landing pages. So would highly recommend our viewers to check out that session. Uh, so now coming back to our discussion, Jess. So we have discussed about setting up the Facebook ads. We discussed about creating the ad sets. We also discussed about optimizing the landing pages. Now, after this, how do I measure whether my campaign is doing well or not? What are the parameters that I need to look at, and also focus on measuring what matters, right? And at times, I've also seen people getting lost in terms of technical jargons. What is a CPC? What is a CTR? Is this something which is relevant for me? So if you could just throw some light and help the viewers understand the basic jargons which they need to know, and which they need to focus on, and which can help them to measure the ROI. And for every marketing dollar, or every marketing money that they're spending, they should be aware that how do I calculate my ROI based on these terms, basically.
Correct. So what I'll do is give a just waiting. Okay. So let me just share my screen for a minute to help you understand this more. First, I think it's extremely important to not get really bogged down with all these terminologies in terms of the jargon and stuff like that. While you start constructing your ads, see it's very simple, it's very basic. So CPC is cost per click, right? How much you're paying to Facebook or any performance marketing channel to drive that, to make that user click on that ad. Now CPC is dependent. It depends on a number of factors, right? Primarily, one of the major aspects which define CPC is how many people, how many advertisers are actually bidding on it. So if I, let's say, choose a tier 2 or tier 3 city in India, uh, my CPCs as a target audience, my CPCs will definitely be lower, right? Because not a lot of advertisers are bidding on those consumers at that point in time, because there are limited opportunities for advertising for a certain audience segment, which is more, let's say, semi-rural, semi-urban kind of an audience in India. And if you compare them to, let's say, urban audience, which is living in Gurgaon, Delhi, Bangalore, Mumbai. Here, this is where all the action is happening. So a lot of advertisers are actually bidding to get more visibility or real estate in their Facebook feeds or their wherever they're going across the web to showcase their ads and to drive clicks from them, right? So CPCs will definitely be higher. So it's just first why I'm starting off with this is because I want to give the users a very clear understanding of it's a pure concept of demand and supply, right? So there here, for example, in tier 1 urban cities, the supply might be limited, but there's a lot of demand to get attention of those users, so that will define your bidding, and will take it your CPCs higher. While like in, let's say, in a smaller city or a town or a village, the CPCs might be lower because the supply is plenty, but there's a lot of demand. However, this is not where the buck stops. This is not your conversion goal, because making people click on your ad is not your final objective. Making people purchase your product is your final objective, right? So if you say which ad is doing better or which campaign is doing better, one campaign has a CPC of 10 rupees, the other campaign has a CPC of 50 rupees. So I'll say, okay, the first one is doing better because the CPC is lesser. This might give you a click, but it might not give you a conversion or a purchase. While you spend 50 rupees on the other click, and it might give you a purchase. So that's how we have to kind of look at the entire structure. So I was just sharing my screen for slightly better understanding in terms of how we structure the campaigns. So is my screen visible now, Abhishek? Abhishek, can you hear me? I think I just lost you. Oh,
It's visible.
sorry. I think I lost you in the middle, so I thought there's something wrong. Anyway, you can see my screen. Okay. So this is, let's say we want to create a new campaign, right? So these are all the options that we have. Now, this platform, you've got to understand that Facebook has also evolved over the years as a platform, right? It gives you many opportunities to identify the right kind of structure you want to keep for your campaign, etc. So let's say if I were to kind of set up a campaign for an academy, I'd start with two things. One is conversions campaign, right? Conversion means that I'll give Facebook a certain conversion objective, which it will then use to help me optimize my campaigns, right? So if I just click on continue, I have a new campaign that is being set up. I can name it anything. Okay, let's call it webinar test, right? Now, campaign objective is conversions. I want people to convert, right? So I quickly set this up, move on to the ad set level. Now you understand, this is what you see on top is the overall, how your campaign is structured. This is the campaign level, the ad set level, and then finally the ad, right? So this is where you select your conversion event. You just come down, you have a website, you can call it, you can give your ad set a name. So a campaign can have multiple ad sets, and an ad set can have multiple ads. So it's structured like a tree, right? So these are the conversion events that we have. Now, what can we choose from? See, these are all the standard events that your Facebook pixel will give you anyway, right? The ones that you see on top. Once you place the pixel face and you start open your Facebook ad manager account, you will start seeing all these events automatically aligned. And then you can choose any of the events. I initially start with the add to cart because that's how I want to optimize. Because the frequency of add to cart will be higher than frequency of purchase. You can even choose purchase for that matter. It doesn't really kind of make a lot of difference. But as a better practice, let's start with a higher frequency event, right? So purchase is what you want your conversion goal or your objective to be. You want to drive purchases through this campaign. See, here you can set up your daily budget. Okay. Now this is where you start creating your audiences, right? So what do? You, let's say, okay, these are my custom audiences. So you come here. These are, you can choose your location from here. For example, currently it's India. I can choose Mumbai. Okay. I can choose New Delhi, etc. Okay, I can go on. I might want to create a certain ad set for tier one cities, might want to create a certain ad set for tier two cities. I can differentiate ad sets based on geography, age, etc., and interests. Of course, this is where the interests lie. So, for example, if I'm selling something related to cooking, I could go and set up people who are interested in cooking show, right? Then I can add more interests here. Facebook will also give me, some suggestions. Okay, people are interested in recipes, fair enough. People who are interested in MasterChef, interesting. And it'll start building up my audience. This will show my potential reach. How many people am I reaching out to from this kind of a target setting, right? And then finally, we go on to create the ad, right? We associate a Facebook page with it. Yes, one thing that I would really like to tell all the users is that you definitely should create a Facebook page, get some activity going on that page first, and then come back. So this is where you set up your ad creative. You can add an image. You can use a primary text. So, for example, let me see if I have any images to use for the sake of this example. Right, so let's say I want to use this image. Okay, it's just a random image that I've chosen. It's not an ad that I'm going to run. So it'll start showing me previews here. It's very interesting. You can see how your ad experience will look like. So primary text, what do you want the primary text to be? This is the best show in India. I'm just using random text for the sake of, see, it starts showing up here. So it starts showing you previews. This is the headline, then there's a description text and your website URL. Where do you want people to land when they click on this ad? This is where you put in your website URL, right? So you can, use Google URL builder to create UTM parameters. We'll get into the, details of that in a different webinar. But for the sake of this, webinar, we just understand this is where you put in your your URL, your landing page URL, and you publish the ad. And that's how your campaign is basically structured. So this is all we have in terms of really getting, setting up our ad campaign is concerned. So, and we can, again, possibly have more detailed documentation in terms of how this is done, how this is set up. But I'd like to, why I wanted to actually show you the dashboard is to make you understand that it is all Latin at the end of the day. You can really understand and make sense of what is happening. It's an interface which is built for users to use effectively without technical knowledge of how to kind of start running these ads. So there's Yes, analytical sense and a creative sense is great to have effective campaigns for sure, but it's no rocket science. It's just art that you can master over a period of time, and it's quite interesting if you ask me. It's quite exciting to kind of see your ad campaigns do well and get you conversions, etc. It really kind of looks beautiful after a certain point in time, provided your ad campaigns are successful.
Absolutely, Jax. I mean, it is definitely easy. I mean, as you laid it out, and I guess the Facebook interface and the algorithm, everything is also very intuitive. And at each step, you have help available in terms of what would be the implications of your demographics, what's the reach that you're going to get. So that way, Facebook is very intuitive, and you get a sense of what's going to be your reach. I mean, obviously, it won't be accurate. It will depend upon the actual performance of the ad and how the ad performs in reality. But of course, the Facebook interface that way is pretty useful. So great. I think just we are coming closer to the end of our webinar. So I would just like you to highlight some of the key takeaways that one needs to look into while setting up the Facebook ads. I know this is a very elaborate subject, and probably we would have more sessions on this, or an elaborate course on this. But if someone is watching the webinar today and wants to learn the basics, so what would be the key takeaways that one needs to keep in mind while setting up a Facebook ad campaign?
Right. So I think the first and the most important takeaway that I would mention here is that don't get intimidated with Facebook ads. It's a user friendly platform to use, and it's don't feel that it's a advertising is something that will take in a lot of money, and you just get apprehensive in the beginning. It gives you absolute control, starting off from the lowest possible budgets to kind of take up that way. And then again, I think most of the points that we've discussed through the course of this webinar are going to be the key takeaways. Your landing pages have to be definitely in place. You should have a very strong hypothesis in terms of before starting off your ad campaigns if you expect them to perform great for you. Start with limited budgets. Okay. Don't start with very high budgets. Start with less than 1,000 rupees, something like that. Okay. Now, in terms of setting up the overall structure of the campaign, like the example that I just showed you was for a conversion campaign. I can set up a conversion campaign for any of the predefined conversion events or custom conversion events that I might want to set up. However, anyone who's actually starting a new academy, they also do not have traffic generally coming onto the website, right? Because there's little visibility out there. We'll do a different session on Google AdWords in terms of, where I'll throw light on how to set up a effective SEM campaign, which will drive visitors to your site from Google. Of course, it's a paid channel. And then SEO definitely takes some time to kind of develop. So if I were to start a campaign from scratch, I would start with a limited budget awareness campaign. So what I showed you in the example was a conversion campaign. Awareness campaign is just to drive landing page visits. So we can quickly, I think I should just show you that. So if we are here and if you want to start a new campaign, you see here, so these are my conversion objectives, and these are my consideration. This is the awareness. So I can start with something like web page visits, etc. I can start with the reach campaign. Definitely doesn't give you a lot of. It gives you more visibility. It might not give you a lot of engagement, but yeah, your ad will go out to more and more people. So let's say traffic. Okay. We start with traffic. The only purpose of this campaign will be to get people onto your landing page, right? So just going back. So what will effectively help you to do is it'll start building up your remarketing buckets, because once your campaigns are built, you also have to start remarketing, right? And that's a concept that, again, we can go into great details about how to use remarketing effectively. But people don't purchase in the first instance or the first session when they land onto your website. Some of them might do, a lot of them might not, right? So for people who are actually dropping off, you'd want to show them relevant ads. Now when you don't have when you don't have traffic on your website, how will you expect people to drop off? So while you set up conversion campaigns and that also brings traffic, but the goal of that campaign is to find more people. Facebook will find more people who are likely to convert for you. But you should also have an effective some amount of traffic coming onto your websites. It's good for the overall health of your campaign structure. So start with a traffic campaign with a limited budget so that there's some clicks just coming, people just landing on the page, exploring. You're building some awareness about the product. And leave this campaign for a couple of days, maybe 2 or 3 days, and then start building up your conversion campaigns where your objective will be to find people who are more likely to convert. And then once both of these come together, then you can start your remarketing campaigns as well, wherein you'll have an effective pool of bucket of people who've actually fallen off from your landing page. So if you're starting off with a limited budget, you might want to spend a few days to let Facebook send people onto your landing page. Your remarketing buckets will start swelling up a bit, and then you can activate your remarketing campaigns on these people who've fallen off from your page. Because why you need 2 3 days and why you need a awareness campaign like traffic campaign to build your remarketing buckets is because the reach of your remarketing bucket will be exactly the number of people who actually experienced your landing page and have fallen off. It's not people who Facebook is freshly scouting out from the audiences that it has, right? It's purely people who've interacted with your page. And then conversion campaigns with different target audiences go extremely diverse in terms of setting up your target audiences. Try different ad sets. uh, when Now you can structure some people like to have one campaign. Within that campaign they like to have multiple ad sets. Some people just like to run campaigns and have one ad set associated with each campaign. It depends. Different kinds of approaches, different strategies, different heads and different minds will have different approaches. Absolutely flexible to try out any of your approach, but I would suggest create a campaign with a certain objective, that this is the kind of audience you want to have in that campaign. Within that campaign you can create multiple ad sets which will be differentiated basis the demographics such as geography, maybe age, etc. So for example, I might want to create a campaign for people who like cooking shows, right? Now within this campaign I might want to have 4 ad sets, right? Ad set 1, cooking shows, tier 1, age 21 to 35. I'd say 2, tier 1, age 35.
Different demographics, yeah.
And then I'd say 3 could be tier 2, I'd say 4 could be, and so on, right? So, I mean, this is just an example. Then what it does is a well distributed and well structured campaign will give you more opportunity to optimize. Because if you have a certain objective and you break it up into different pieces, you'll clearly be able to see which pieces are firing and which pieces are not firing. So the pieces that are actually not firing, you can pull them back, you can pause them and let pieces and increase budgets on the pieces that are firing. So that will improve your overall campaign performance. It will help you reduce the amount of burn that you have, etc. So that's and then there's absolutely so much information available as well that people can make use of to really understand how to best.
Right.
We'll also be sharing a few case studies in terms of how we structured one of our celebrity campaigns on Nourish. So we'll be showcasing the case for that in the next few weeks for sure, primarily for Facebook advertising. So
Sure.
yeah, these are a few key takeaways that I think are coming to my mind at this point
Right.
in time.
Absolutely. No, great. Jess, I think, one can really see that, you're really passionate about, Facebook campaigns and performance marketing in general. And it really shows in terms of while you are explaining these complex jargons to all of us. So great. I think this was a great learning experience. I think one of the key takeaways for me personally is to what I understood from today's webinar is, it's important to start. Once you've identified Facebook as a platform, it's important to start. Don't get bogged down with the jargons. A Facebook interface is quite intuitive and it will guide you in terms of how to set up your demographics, how to set up your campaign. The third is it's okay to make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes while running ad campaigns. And I think it's important to make small mistakes in the beginning. Don't have a very heavy budget in the beginning. Start with very small budget. See which ad is working. Tweak around. As Jaskaran mentioned, measure what matters, and then optimize your ad sets. And definitely, it will lead to better conversions. And I think a lot of times we also hear that people think that just simply by running the ad campaigns they will start getting sales. That's not the case. With any campaign, with any advertising, marketing, you need to be patient in terms of the ROI. The ROI will definitely come, so you need to be patient. So important thing is to keep at it. So great. With these thoughts, let's wrap up the webinar for today. And I'm sure Jaskaran will be back with a lot of more learnings and in terms of performance marketing and with more case studies. So thank you so much, Jas, for taking us through this entire Facebook ad campaign, and looking forward to your future sessions.
Thanks a lot.
Right. Okay. Thank you.